All right, we are officially live. Welcome to the Jack and Jill live show. My name is Mike Lennon. I'm the co-sports information director and assistant hockey coach here at Northland College. I am with head baseball coach Jeremy Snow and head men's lacrosse coach James Stumpo. Fellas, thanks for joining me today. We'll start with Jeremy. Maybe just introduce yourself, talk to us a little bit about, where you graduated college, where you coached before, and kind of where you were leading up to your time with us here at Northland.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I'm Jeremy Snow, head baseball coach here at Northland. Originally, I'm from Tucson, Arizona, and I played here at Northland. Graduated in 2010. And then I got a coaching job right away as a graduate assistant coach at Siena Heights University in Michigan, and moved from there to an assistant job at Lourdes University. After 3 years in that position, ultimately took over as head coach there. Spent 4 years as the head coach there. Spent last season as an assistant at the University of Northwestern Ohio before getting the job here and coming back.
How's so we're obviously into baseball season already. Just talk to us a little bit, I guess your time leading up to, because obviously, you were hired during the prime of COVID basically, but just talk to us a little bit about, the time leading up to kind of where we are today.
Yeah. So got the job in May. There's an amazing opportunity to come back to my alma mater and help to, build the program back up after a couple tough seasons. And we inherited a very small returning roster. So the first task was to spend the summer months recruiting and getting as many guys that fit our system and our style in between May and the start of the school year. And that wasn't necessarily an easy task with COVID going on. It was very hard to go out and see games and stuff. So we were relying a lot on video and coaching connections throughout the country to try to identify not only just baseball players to help build our roster, but we wanted the right guys that would fit academically and athletically to what we're trying to do. So we were able to bring in 8 new players for this season. We do have a couple dual sport guys that are playing on the hockey team to make those 8 work, but we brought in a couple key guys at positions where our depth was really low, a couple key guys at positions that we just needed to improve, and ultimately we've settled on this 22-man roster for this season. COVID changed a lot of things, not only in the recruiting process because of travel and lack of games and cancellations, and state to state was really difficult to know who was playing, were they not. There were tournaments that were scheduled up until the minute it was supposed to start and then being shut down. So the recruiting process this year has been very different, very interesting. Fall ball was interesting as well because we had new COVID procedures to go through with our daily checks and our temperature checks and masks and keeping guys further apart than normal. Had to exercise my coaching voice a little bit better to convey the message. But ultimately, the fall season for us was about evaluating what we had. I had never seen any of these guys play in person except for a couple of the recruits that we brought in. And so we needed to evaluate where we were at, what we had, and also to implement some of the big concept things that we'll utilize moving forward. I've never been the type to come into a program and go 0 to 100 with all the different changes that we want to make and all of the fine detail things. So we wanted to evaluate the base knowledge and the experience that we had. And there has been some coaching turnover in our program over the last several years. So there was a lot of different information that our players have experienced in their time here at Northland. And so just wanting to get them comfortable with a new coach, get them some big concept, broad ideas to focus on, and then to clean up how we want to train and what our training regiment looks like, and get that instilled in the guys. So we spent the fall doing that. And then the winter, we were, obviously with Division III rules and things, we don't get the contact with our guys in the off season, but the off season plan that they were given was more of a lifting based plan, getting stronger in the weight room, taking care of their bodies, and building the base that they need for a 40 game college season. And then also implementing our new indoor hitting facility and getting them in there to be able to swing and do some things to just get better at baseball in their own time and stuff, and develop some of the skills that we had talked about throughout the fall. And so when we got through the fall, we got into our off-season time frame, and then ultimately COVID protocols and things like that came into place, and we had a nice long break between the fall and the spring semester. When we got back, we added 2 players over semester break that came in, and it was just about implementing our plan. We do our indoor practice segment, we do in small groups. That's very COVID friendly, but COVID really didn't have anything to do with that. That's just how I like to do indoor practice. I feel like that gets us the most individual development and get our guys prepared for the season, with a lot of coaching in a better coach to player ratio to be able to focus individually on each guy. We hit a lot. We got on a pitching plan and implemented the incremental steps through our pitching plan to build up pitch counts and arm strength, and ultimately keep arms healthy throughout the season. So that's kind of what we did for the preseason, is we hit and we pitched. We got the arms in shape to play. And thankfully we've had some great spring weather to be able to get outside earlier than normal, to get some defensive work and stuff. We unfortunately weren't able to use our county or town facility because of COVID to get more defensive reps early. So we had to make do and come up with a different plan to get everybody caught up. We started games on the 13th of March, I believe. So we're 9 games into the season. And one of the things that I like to do as a coach in the early part of the season is to schedule tough games and tough opponents. And I just believe it teaches us where we need to be and helps expose some of our weaknesses early enough that we can address those things moving into conference play. So we've played a really tough opening 9 games against some very good opponents, and the goal that we've talked about all season with the guys is I want them to compete and I want them to learn from their mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. We have 22-man roster, so we have some depth issues and things like that just because of the smaller nature of our roster. So it's important that we don't make the same mistakes over and over, and we just learn from them and we compete. And our guys have been great. The energy's been awesome. One thing we talk about all the time with our guys is I never want a fan showing up in the 5th inning to know what the score is when there's no scoreboard available. We need to be having energy, positive energy, a lot of cheering, a lot of loud noises as we go. And I think that teammates feed off that, and it keeps us engaged in the game and competing and moving forward. And we've done some really fun things so far in the season, but we are still just in the 3rd week of games. So.
Yeah, obviously you guys are a little less than 10 games into the season, but some of your guys offensively are really sticking out. Joe Veit, he's batting over 500. Schramm's batting, over 350. Noah Cross right around 350 as well. Who are some of the guys that maybe you're, as a new coach that you're maybe, really going to be depending on, or who are some new guys that Northland College fans should be, kind of keeping tabs up or watching?
Yeah. So talking about where the stats are right now and everything, it's hard to not talk about Joe Veit. Joe's a very athletic kid. He's played a couple different positions in his career here as a senior. And I think originally in the fall, we thought that he was going to be primarily a catcher for us. And forgive me.
Recruiting calls.
Got a recruiting call coming in the office right on the call here. So for some reason won't let me end it. So anyways, Joe is very athletic. One thing that we do with all of our guys, I did a certification course this summer through the baseball side company of the Titleist Performance Institute to put our guys through a functional mobility screening that's catered to baseball and allow us to identify flaws in their game that may be caused by physical limitations, and then come up with plans to address those physical limitations and how we can move forwards, getting them to be better athletes. And Joe Vite tested out great on all of those things. And so it was really concerning to me as a coach, because offensively he hasn't had the success in his career to this point, but physically and athletically, he's one of the most gifted players on the team. So we worked a lot on his swing, making some swing adjustments, talking about directives and approach things that we felt would help him be more successful. And he's taken off with those things. He's had early success for us, obviously batting over 500 so far. He had a great weekend this past weekend, hitting his first career home run. I think he hit 4 doubles on the weekend as well, and stuff. He's just been on fire, and it hasn't really mattered who's been on the mound for the other team. Joe was able to come in against a very tough left-hand pitcher from St. John's and come through with a couple great swings. Facing Superior's pitching this weekend, we saw a very big mix of different arms and arm angles and velocities and stuff, and Joe just made in-game adjustments to put himself in the best position to have success. So it's hard not to talk about him right off the bat. Jake Schramm had a very successful freshman year here, and he's off to another good start for us this year. One of the things that we really worked on with him was how to use his whole body and his swing, where he used to just be hands and upper body and placing the ball to find hits in the hole. We've got him to understand how to use his legs, and that's helped him hit for a little bit more extra base power. I think he's got 4 doubles on the season so far, which I believe matches his total as a freshman. So, we've had some guys off to some great starts. Lacrosse and Adrian Bethel, another 2 seniors, are off to good starts as well. Adrian has been a very successful offensive player for us for 3 years. And I think everybody knows that in the scouting report against us. So he gets pitched pretty tough. I think he's identified in those scouting reports as the guy you don't want to let beat you. So, and he's done a great job of adjusting to how people are pitching him. And he has had some bad luck as well. Hit some balls really hard that were right at people. So maybe the batting average isn't quite there yet, but he's doing really well. And then Noah Cross, he's a guy that's was able to swing hard and hit balls hard. And now we've added a couple elements to his swing, tweaked a couple things, and really worked mental approach with him on having a plan at the plate. And he's done a great job of executing that. And the results speak for themselves for him as well, where the extra base potential's been there. He's hit a couple home runs now. And I believe those are the first 2 of his career. So he's off to a great start. As far as new guys and things to focus on for the fans or whatever, guys to watch moving forward, I would talk about our only returning freshman from last year, who's a freshman again because of COVID, but Keaton Arizola has been a great bat for us in the upper half of the lineup. He plays a really good second base for us, and he's got a very good smooth left-handed swing. He hit his first career home run this past weekend. He's a guy that can drive the ball a little bit and do some damage at the top of the order. And he's one to keep an eye on for sure. And then we have two freshman catchers that now that we've moved Joe Veit off of catching to third base to kind of shore up a hole defensively. The two freshman catchers are going to get a bulk of the playing time back there, and that's Zach Ross and Matt Simpson. Matt is a freshman from British Columbia, came in. He's very solid defensively. He's doing much better and developing offensively. Came through with an RBI double in our game against Superior on Sunday, making a great swing adjustment where the first couple at bats he was doing something to where he was getting out in front and his timing was a little off. And we talked about an adjustment in the dugout, and he made that adjustment, was able to hit a double to right field and come through with an RBI for us. I really think that the more he plays, the better he's going to get, and he's going to be, a catcher for us for the next 4 years. And then Zach Ross, the other freshman that's splitting time with him behind the plate, is a big offensive potential guy. He's a switch hitter for us. He's hit 3 doubles already. He has a little bit of power, and offensively, I think that the potential is big for him to be a middle of the order guy for us for a long time. Behind the plate, he does a good job of receiving and stuff well too. So I'm really happy with what we're doing defensively as a catching unit, and I think they both have different skill sets that make a platoon really work. It helps us with some matchup things and stuff, but they're both getting a lot of experience. And I think that that's the big thing for our younger guys this year is just how much experience they're gaining in this small roster setting to be able to move forward.
Yeah. No, and that's, it's exciting. Obviously I know the results maybe aren't there, but I think you're seeing a lot of, obviously with a brand new team, you're probably seeing a lot of positives right now and stuff that you'll use moving forward. Also have James Stumpo on. James, appreciate you coming on the show today. Talk to us a little bit. James is our head men's lacrosse coach here on campus. Just talk to us a little bit about your background and kind of where you were at leading up to working with us here at Northland.
For sure. And yeah, thanks for having me on today, Lenny. And for me, I grew up, born and raised Northern Virginia, about 45 minutes west of Washington, D.C. High school lacrosse, played college lacrosse at a Division III school in Southern Virginia called Randolph. Graduated from there in 2018. Worked at a private high school for about a year and a half called Hargrave. And the goal for me when I was there was always to try to find a college job, move up to college. And being a 22-year-old, my thought was maybe I'll find an assistant job. I'll apply for every head coaching job I see. And Northland popped up, and it seemed like a great fit for me. And I guess I did pretty well in the interview because I'm still sitting here. But yeah, I took over the program in November 2019, and there's been some turnover at the baseball head coach position, I know, before Jeremy came in, but I was the 4th coach in 4 years. The program had been through a lot of turmoil, and I think right now we're finally starting to see a lot of improvements with the team. Obviously, the team right now, we're 0-2, first game against Cornell. I want that one back. I'm really excited we get to play them again. But that first game we had 1, 2, 3. We had 4 starting players who had practiced for 3 days before the first game. So it's just we're finally catching our stride, catching up to speed. And we played Monmouth on the 20th, and we held them to 10 goals. Sadly, we still lost 10-6, but defensively holding a team like that to 10. Our goalie, Danny, he played really well. A lot of our poles played really, really well. And again, we're finally starting to make the improvements that I wanted to see last year, but last year, obviously, COVID kind of cut our season short right as I think we were hitting our stride again last year, which was definitely a shame. But yeah, this year we're looking really strong. Offensively, some of our guys that have stepped up in a big way. One of our freshmen, Jackson Breton, he has 5 goals in 2 games. Jacob Wolford, he also has 5 goals in 2 games. So both of them are now fighting to see who's going to be the leading scorer on the team at the end of the year. And some other people have stepped up in a big way. Tristan Petrie, who's one of your hockey players too, also plays lacrosse for us. He is averaging a goal a game right now, and I don't think he's played lacrosse in about 4 or 5 years. But he's loving it, and he's stepping up when we need him to step up. Defensively, as of right now, I think we have arguably the best, if not a top 3 defender in the conference in Aiden Hood. He's a sophomore. He should be leading our team in caused turnovers, but the stats book from Monmouth, for whatever reason, just I don't think had him that right. And he's been a huge help for us. He's been guarding the best player on both teams we've played so far, and he's been awesome. He's been great. Some other players who have stepped up in a big way. Freshman Cody Fowler. He's a two-way midfielder for us, and he's over 50% at the face-off X, which is huge, especially as a freshman in this conference. And again, we are finally starting to kind of look in the right direction and starting to make that move forward. And I'm really excited now for next year, even more so going forward. These guys with an extra year of experience under their belts now, and the class that I think we're going to be bringing in next year, I'm really excited.
Yeah, and this is obviously, for the people that don't know, this is your first year in the Midwest Lacrosse Conference. Unfortunately, there's only 4 teams competing this year. Obviously, Northland, Cornell, Monmouth, and Northwestern Minnesota. Just talk to us, I guess, a little bit about, just how huge it is to finally be in a conference to compete, for a conference title, and then hopefully, get a trip to the national tournament.
It's huge. And yeah, we were announced to join the conference over the summer, which was fantastic. And yeah, again, sadly, 2 teams backed out last minute this year and pulled their teams due to COVID reasons. And understand, sad, we're not playing 10 games, we're only playing 6 this year, plus playoffs. But it's been huge, not only for the guys on the team, but for recruiting in general. Not being an independent school, guaranteeing home games to guys, guaranteeing you're playing for something more than just game in and seeing what happens, but you're playing for standings, you're playing for a conference title. And I think selfishly even telling some guys you're playing for first team and second team all conference spots, that lights a fire up under some guys, and it's been fantastic. And as you said, we have an automatic qualifier or an automatic bid to the national tournament, the winner of our conference. So that's the goal for me. This year, I think we have a team that has already stepped up and surprised both teams we've played. A lot of teams kind of overlooked us at the start of the year, and I don't think they're going to be overlooking us anymore going forward. We're really starting, as I said, to turn things around, and hopefully, 0-2, but we have 4 more games, and realistically, I think we can be a 4-0 team going forward.
Yeah, and Jeremy touched on this a little bit, and maybe a question that I want both of you to answer, but just how and Jeremy talked about this a little bit, but, just with COVID going on right now as well, just talk to us a little bit of how recruiting is going for you guys, maybe what's different with the recruiting, and kind of what your, really needs are, I guess, for next year's class.
Yeah.
Go ahead first, Jeremy. Go ahead first.
Yeah. For us, the hard part with COVID and recruiting, the summer is such a big time for us to identify players, put our recruiting boards together and stuff. And every year it seems to be earlier and earlier that the next class starts reaching out. I think I got more emails in January and February and March from coaches and individual players and stuff than ever before for that next class. But I think COVID has created such an uncertainty for these young athletes and these high school players who missed the season last year. So they don't have the season of stats, and they don't have the season of quote unquote exposure, or whatever you want to call it, that they were looking for and were hoping for. And so a lot of them are taking it on themselves to market themselves. There was a lot of summer baseball played nationwide, but it was just hit or miss on where those games were happening, how you could get there, if schools could go or not go. So video has been huge this year, more than ever before. I've always loved getting video from recruits and things like that to just be able to slow things down and check mechanics really, really slow and detailed. But I always like to see the kids play in a live game. You know, the video never shows what happens when they struggle or what happens when a bad call happens against them, or you don't really get to see in the video necessarily who they are as a competitor. You get to see their highlight reel or their best swings that they took for the summer, or sometimes we get live at bat videos where we can see a full at bat and how they handle different pitches and work an approach. And on the pitching side, how they sequence their pitches and stuff. But again, a lot of it is just highlight stuff, right? So we're seeing the best of themselves in these videos. And sometimes that's great and it gets you really excited. And sometimes it can be misleading. So we've had to lean on high school and travel coaches for opinions. We have had to do a lot more office recruiting than ever before. I don't think I've been home this often as I have this year, just because of how the recruiting process has gone. So it's created some difficulties. It's created some opportunities. We want to be a nationwide recruiting team and a wide net type of recruiting to find the right fits for us. We're trying to find guys that fit Northland, that are looking for that small town feel, are looking for the outdoors opportunities. Hunting and fishing is a big activity amongst my team, and our team is a very close team. So I want more guys like that fit that. But I do want some gym rats and things like that as well, that we have to kick out of the cages and kick out of the weight room, that type of mentality as well. So finding the right blend of that, the right academic fit, the right financial fit and stuff. We can't pigeonhole ourselves to an 100-mile radius, or we're going to end up in the same boat of small roster and low return on our recruiting calls. So we need to cast that wide net. And COVID has hurt and helped in that setting, because everybody has video now and everybody's marketing themselves and everybody is trying to push their players to anywhere and everywhere that there's an opportunity. And one huge positive for us compared to a lot of baseball teams nationwide right now is that we're not over recruiting our roster and having these super rosters without, JV opportunities or things like that. Seeing a lot of rosters get into the 40, 50, 60 range, and maybe have JV, maybe don't, but they're recruiting, they're bringing in kids and stuff. And then they got kids coming back. We're in a different boat. We inherited a very small roster. We're still a smaller roster than I think is ideal to play college baseball in the right way. And so we have a lot to offer these kids, just based on that. They're competing with one other person to possibly win a big job, or they're competing with a handful of guys to get more at bats. It's not 30 hitters going through BP and trying to identify who the best 9 are for offense and defensive reasons. And then with our recruiting class coming in, we want to be in that 30 to 35 range. That's where I think that college baseball is healthy. You have enough depth, you have enough pitching, you have enough time and resources for getting better in that. Any more than that, it gets a little tight. But any less than that, and you're really putting yourself in a position that 1 or 2 injuries or other things just create such a hole that you can't overcome, and it puts a lot of strain on a lot of things, especially on the pitching side. So we want that 30 to 35, but we're being very specific with our depth chart as well. I don't want, 10 people at second base taking ground balls on a daily basis and stuff, and then only having a handful of outfielders and no pitching just to meet that 30. I want the roster breakdown to be 2 at each position so that we have healthy, good competition. I want a couple extra catchers because of the demand of the position and the fact that we play so many doubleheaders. And then I want a full pitching staff somewhere in that 14 to 16 arm range. When you get into conference play, it's a 10 to 12 person pitching staff usually. And so you need some arms to pitch those non-conference games. You need some arms to develop, and you need just arms in case something happens or whatever. And that's what we're shooting for. That's what we're trying to do. So we are limiting our roster spots when we're talking to kids based on that. Now, if we are always looking for versatile athletes that can play multiple positions and do things offensively, or versatile pitchers that can be athletic and maybe play a position as well. I'm never opposed to a two-way player in this system. So we are limiting the roster size, but we are also are trying to identify versatility in that. So we're not turning kids away that can play multiple positions, but maybe we will turn away somebody who is a one position type of athlete when we're full at that position. And as far as the recruiting's gone for us, we have 8 seniors this year out of our 22. Fortunately and unfortunately, and depends on how you want to perspective it, but those 8 seniors are far along academically and are great students. So they'll be moving on. COVID gives them an extra year of eligibility, and unfortunately for us, they'll be using that year in grad school somewhere else because they're too far along academically and stuff like that. So we're going to be back at 14 returners, just like we were. The only difference is we've had a year of recruiting to make up for that. We have 12 coming in currently. We want to get to that 16 areas where we're trying to get. We may go past it a little bit for the right positions, some extra pitching, and a couple other positions where a little bit more depth isn't going to be an issue. We're still looking for a couple outfielders to come in. We're still looking for a shortstop to come in, one more catcher, and then 4 or 5 more pitchers to round out the class. I really like how the class looks right now. We've got some very athletic kids coming in that can move around a little bit. We've got some offensive potential in 2 or 3 of them that they could step in day one and be able to hit at the college level. And then on the pitching side, we have 2 or 3 arms that have committed that I'm very excited about because I think that they're going to be able to handle college hitters early in their career and provide us with the talent level that we need to compete and move forward. So it's shaping up to be a good class, but we're never done.
James, what about you? How's recruiting been going for the men's lacrosse program?
It's been actually pretty good. Over the summer, I guess I was pretty fortunate that a lot of the tournaments and showcases that were scheduled were still run. None in Illinois, so I just had to make the extra 3 hours to go to Indiana where they got moved to. But yeah, I was able to hit a bunch in Indiana, Wisconsin, and some in Minnesota. And I was pretty much on the road, I want to say, every single weekend this summer. And it's shown where, as of right now, we're sitting at 7 commitments, which is, I think, the second biggest recruiting class right now in school history, besides the first class that started the program 5 years ago now. And we still have about 6, 7, 8 guys on the hook that we're still talking to, still even trying to grow that now. We're looking really strong defensively. We have, from what I've seen, about 2 or 3 pole defenders that are going to come in and going to be vying for starting spots day one. I'm really excited about them. Offensively, we have 3 kids committed who are all going to play huge parts going forward in our offense. The big things we're still looking for are mainly goalies and more midfielders. We do have a goalie committed who I'm really happy with, but we're losing our one. We have one goalie. He might come back, might not. We'll see how grades work out and if he wants to use the extra year of eligibility. But if he doesn't, then I'm sitting at 1 goalie for next year, and that's just not enough. I'm trying to add at least 1 more, maybe 2 more. 3 goalies I'd be really, really happy with. 2 I'd be happy with. So still trying to close that out, but and kind of what Jeremy said about being like a national recruiting program, we've been doing a solid job with that just because of kind of how unique we are with the programs that we offer and with the team atmosphere, where we do have three kids out of southern Wisconsin, which is great. But besides that, we have Michigan, Vermont, Nevada. Well, we have an international student committed from New Zealand, which is fantastic. I'm really, really excited with him. So just trying to keep it going. We're still talking to kids from Nevada, Virginia, Florida, and again, even though we are a little far away from home, with what we have to offer, it's fantastic. And with the leadership we have on our team, we have 3 captains. They're all juniors. They're all coming back next year. As of right now, we're returning everyone for next spring besides our goalie, and he still could even come back next year too. Still waiting to see, which that's fantastic, where I don't have to replace seniors and bring in a class. I just have to bring in a class, and again, 7, still a little low. I think we'll be able to get to that 10-11 mark by the start of next fall. And we hit that, we'll be right around a 30-man, 28, 27, somewhere around that for a roster, which is still, I would probably say, a little bit low for where I want to be. Ideally for me, I want to be 30. I think 30 is a good number for a college lacrosse program, especially up here and in the conference we play. It allows everyone to get a good amount of playing time throughout the season, but it also keeps competition levels high for each position and each starting spot. And that's one of the things I love about the guys on the team, all of the returners, all of the juniors and sophomores that have been through so many coaching changes and a lot of uncertainty with the program. Now that I've been here for almost 2 years, coming up on 2 years soon. It's finally provided some stability, and the guys on the team know that I'm bringing in kids that are going to fight for their starting spots, and it's not something that's an issue on the team. All the guys are pretty bought into the fact, and they just want to have a competitive roster. They want to win. No one cares who's on the field to help whoever helps us win. The guys are happy with. They just want to have a winning program and have that competitive program, and ideally, we're heading there. Hopefully, we'll find out in about 2.5 weeks. Our next game is April 7th, and it's a home game. So, and it's against I would say, our biggest rival, Northwestern St. Paul, and one of our closest games, too. So the guys are really pumped up about that. They're a solid team, but if we keep moving in the right direction and our defense keeps playing the way they have all year, there's no reason we shouldn't be able to beat them. And I'm really, really happy with that. And yeah, recruiting, COVID's been an issue. The biggest thing for me has been guys visiting. I love to have guys visit campus. It's great talking with guys on the phone, but if they don't visit campus, they're not gonna know what the team's like. I can have them, or they can watch as many videos as they want and talk to admissions as much as they want, but sitting with me face to face, talking with the parents, having them talk with captains when they come on their visits, I don't think you can beat that. So hopefully come next year, we'll be back to a more normal recruiting schedule where we have guys doing overnights in the fall, guys going to meals on campus, sitting in on a class, seeing what campus life is all about, instead of just coming here and seeing what happens. So I'm really hoping and excited for hopefully next fall we're back to a little bit more normal with the recruiting schedule. And already this upcoming summer, there's a bunch of tournaments scheduled that I'm on the list for. And once our season ends, Wisconsin and Minnesota will kind of just be starting up or be in full swing for their high school season. So you'll probably won't be seeing me in the office too much. I'll be driving around to a bunch of different high school games in Minnesota and Wisconsin and whatnot, trying to either find some more guys or close a deal on some guys that are still on the fence. But yeah, even with COVID, it's been a fairly successful recruiting season so far.
Yeah. I guess you guys both talked about this as well, and maybe just our final topic here, but what's your guys' outlook on the rest of the year? I mean, just with everything going on, James, you're only able to have, 6 games this year. Jeremy, you're obviously, depending on weather, we'll see how many games. Weather up here in northern Wisconsin can be a little iffy at times, but knock on wood, we got no snow on the ground right now. But what's your guys'? You guys both talked about this a little bit, but what are your guys' outlook on the rest of the year? Like, do you guys have any, goals for the rest of the year at all? Maybe start with Jeremy.
Yeah. When we were putting this schedule together, we had to think about several things. We weren't able to go on a spring trip this year down south, and there's no overnight trips this year, just as part of the COVID policies. And being a northern school, without that spring trip, you just don't know what the weather's going to do, like you said. So we looked to try to fill the schedule as best we could. We were allowed to play a full schedule this year of 40 games if we could make it work within those protocols and parameters and stuff. And I think as a coach, I had two choices. One, we know we have 22 players. We know we're kind of in this rebuilding mode and stuff. So maybe we play less games to put ourselves in the best position to be successful for this year. Or the other option was to really allow us to play as many games as possible for experience for the young guys and a kind of last hurrah for the seniors and stuff. And I really felt with the loss of last season, the second option was the most important. Some of these guys missed out on high school seasons. You missed out on a year of development for any of the returners. And then the seniors, it wouldn't have been fair to them to limit our games and stuff since they didn't get to play last year. So we looked at every opportunity possible to try to play games. We tried to schedule as best we could to not miss class to do it. Without that week off for spring break, it meant that we were going to have to schedule some early weekends and things and just hope that the weather worked out. And fortunately, up till this point, it has, and we've been able to get our games in. And then as we move forwards and stuff, we'll see what the weather holds for this coming weekend. But the goals that I had for us was to play as many games as we could, to get our games in, get development for the young guys and anybody that'll be returning, to get the seniors as many game opportunities as they could get, to make sure that they had a great experience. I had a great experience at Northland College. That's why I came back to lead this program, and it's definitely a job of pride for me too, to come back and want to see this thing work. So getting the experience piece was huge, and then getting the games in. Just the fact that we're getting games in, I got to give our guys a lot of credit for how they're handling their business off the field and stuff, as far as staying safe and positive and all that with everything still going on. They're doing a really great job at that. And, we'll knock on wood that they continue. But that was step one. And then step two, I think the team goal and the goal that all the players have talked about and that we've really bought into is that we want to be a playoff team. The program's missed the conference tournament the last couple of years, and I think these seniors really want to make sure that they get in. I think that it's a great goal for us to always have in some capacity of making the playoff. So that's the goal moving forward, and the outlook on that and everything is, we scheduled tough to start the season. I talked about that a little bit earlier, that's something that I always want to do. But we've done nothing to hurt ourselves towards that goal of making the conference tournament. And that's the kind of silver lining that we've talked about as a team so far this year is that, when we take the field, I expect us to win. I expect our players to expect to win. I expect us to compete and all that. But the reality is our goal is to make the conference playoff a season after not even having a season. So this is extra experience, this is extra reps, and this is an opportunity for us to clean up how we play moving forward. And we've done nothing to hurt that goal because we haven't even started conference play yet. So we've got another tough weekend this weekend, 4-game weekend. 4-game weekend with a small roster is exhausting for sure, just because we don't have the depth to get guys in and out and rest and those type of things. And then our schedule kind of loosens up from there where we're only playing 2 to 4 games a week and they're spread out. They're not back-to-back days. So knock on wood that the weather holds and continues to be an amazing spring for us. But really this will be the last tough weekend scheduling wise. And then it's just about focusing on the one or two opponents that we have throughout the week, keeping ourselves on our arm care program, keeping ourselves swinging and getting our reps, and not making the same mistakes twice. And if we can do those things, I really feel that we have a competitive and athletic enough group that we can do some things this year. So.
Yeah, and for us, in terms of the outlook for the season, what the goals are, with 2 teams backing out of the conference, so we just have 4 teams playing this year. We already have a playoff spot, and the goal for us is to make it to the conference finals and see what happens from there. Lacrosse, and with the conference we're in, we match up pretty well with every single team that we play, and lacrosse, kind of like baseball, is a sport where it seems like if you're hot, or any team can win on any given day. So for us, it's to make it to the conference finals and then see what happens, kind of go from there. Again, as we did kind of start 0-2, the goal, I don't want to finish 4th in the regular season. I think 3rd place finish is a great spot for us, or it'd be a great spot for us. I think we match up really well next time we play Monmouth at home. They're a solid team, but they're a very beatable team. Same with Cornell. We played them again this year, and with that having been our first game of the season, yeah, we lost 12-8, but there was a lot of victories there. We had the lead in the 3rd, and we just kind of got to get the legs under the guys, got to have the stamina. We don't have the depth where we can play a true kind of run and gun game. We're just going up and down the field, high scoring. That's not our style of play this year. We have to win games 12-8. We have to win games 10-6, 10-7, 10-8, stuff like that. And our defense has shown in the 2 games that we can hold teams. Now it's time for us to start working more on offense to get the offense going, and we got to be able to outscore teams. It's that simple at this point. And again, being able to make the conference championship in the first year in the conference would be huge. And going forward from there, with everyone returning for next year, it's keeping guys up to speed for next year. And all these reps, the freshmen are playing a lot and they're playing well. And that's kind of the best thing. So they're going to have this extra year of experience along with the freshmen that will be coming in next year. We're going to have a really young team. We'll rely a lot on youth and a little bit of experience. So for me, it's just finishing out this year strong and building off of it from there going forward.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, and I really look forward to watching both of your guys' programs. Both young programs where the future's really bright, and wish the both of you guys the best success. Can't wait to watch. James, I got a chance to watch you play already down in the Twin Cities. Jeremy, hopefully we'll get to some home games, knock on wood. We won't say the snow word. Sorry, I said it, but hopefully we'll get some home games soon. But to Coach Snow, Coach Stumpo, thank you for joining the first ever live show. One point that I did want, or one topic that I also did want to bring up, and maybe Jeremy, you can talk about this a little bit as well, or both of you guys can. We have our Jack and Jill challenge going on right now. We have a couple more days. We have a bunch of stuff out on our social media, some really cool videos that our marketing department did. It's a way to give directly to Northland College athletics that directly supports, everybody, all students, programs, et cetera. I don't know if you guys wanted to touch on any of that.
I think it's really important. We rely on fans and alumni and donors for different things throughout the year, and with COVID and stuff, some of our fundraising opportunities were cut short or impossible and stuff. And so doing this challenge allows for generous donations to come in, and any amount really helps. But what you're donating to isn't the shirts or the equipment or the upgrades that those things get used for. It's to the kids and to our student athletes to have the best experience. So I challenge any alumni out there that see this first live show to just think about your own experience here and how much you enjoyed it and stuff, and just think of how much better we can make it through generous donations moving forward and stuff. That's really my challenge to the challenge is can we just think about our time here as alums and our time as student athletes here at Northland, and want to give our student athletes that we currently have the best chance to have a great experience just like we had, and move forward with that. So anything helps, and yeah, just challenge any of the alumni that hear this. Open that checkbook.
For me, I'll kind of just reiterate what Jeremy said, where it's a huge opportunity to give back, not to a specific program or anything. And you're not giving to just a lacrosse team or just a baseball or just a hockey program. You're giving to the athletic department as a whole. And I think that's huge for us, where we talk a lot about, and I've felt it from day one when I took over the lacrosse program, where the athletics department is a family here. Everyone works for everyone, where Lenny, with your job with SID, you had to travel out to the Twin Cities to stat our game against Cornell, and you do a lot of work behind the scenes. Jeremy, I know you help with stats all the time with home games when you're not in season. I run around for the hockey games, volleyball games, and help run streams. It's a family here, and we take that very seriously. So anything that you can kind of give or help give, every bit amount helps. So just being able to do anything, it's not just going to a specific program, it's going to the whole athletic department.
Perfect. Well, that's going to do it for our first ever Jack and Jill live show. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to try making this either a weekly or a bi-weekly thing. We'll get some coaches. We'll get hopefully some players here at Northland, some student athletes on as well. So to the both of you guys, really appreciate you guys doing this. Had a lot of fun, and thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.